So I am delighted to be here and to help out in this trying time. I have a co-host this evening, and we call her. Her name is Carmen, and we call her the Beautiful One. And she's my cohort, and she's out of North Carolina, and she's a colleague of mine, and we collaborated on some stuff, and she was willing to help out too. So thank you so much, Carmen. She's going to be monitoring the chat to see if there are any questions that need to be answered and so on. So thank you in advance, Carmen. I really appreciate it. So what I want to do today is to provide some techniques to stay motivated and get your ideas too. But, you know, how can we stay motivated? There'll be things that maybe you thought of, maybe you didn't. We're going to take a look at motivation and just some different stuff that maybe you thought of and, you know, like I said, maybe you didn't. We're also going to talk about ideas to retool, how to do that. Like, what should I do? So we'll talk about all that. Now, I have this slide here because I want to ask or explain how I wake up in the morning. So during these past couple of weeks, you know, I've had some personal stuff going on too with my family, but when I wake up in the morning now, it's like I have this little twinge, you know. I wake up and I feel a little twinge of anxiety, and it's kind of unexplainable. It's kind of like I'm coming out of a dream. And then I open my eyes and I realize we're not in a dream. This is reality. And so we have to figure out how to do this. But I wake up every morning with this anxiety, and I get up and I go in the kitchen and get my day going, get the dogs ready, walk the dogs, come back, do my deal. And then about half an hour later, I feel better. But I know that other people feel this too. I was talking to a class. I actually had a class on Saturday that was not remote, believe it or not. I only had 2 people, so we were able to social distance. But they were saying, you know, I feel the same way. So we're all feeling this way. So, you know, we're going to talk today, like I said, about some things to try to help us. But I feel the pain when I wake up, and I know you feel it too. So we have to find our inner strength here. You know, we can't go anywhere. Can't go to the gym, right? We can exercise at home. I'll talk about that a little bit later, but the job situation is unclear. I think it's really that level of uncertainty about what the future is going to hold that's really got everybody, you know, uptight. We've had with something that I've never seen in my lifetime, and that is a complete economic reversal in, you know, in the state of affairs in our economy. I mean, we haven't seen a lot of it yet, and maybe that'll turn around, but it's that level of uncertainty that's got everybody on edge. So even though you can do stuff, I find that a lot of times we don't want to do anything, right? We don't feel like doing it. But we have to find that inner self-motivation if we're going to get through this. We really have to. We can do this. We can do it together. But we gotta stay focused, and we gotta stay motivated. And it might be a blessing in disguise. We might be, you know, this might be a time when we look back and say, yeah, I was so worried, but, you know, everything worked out. So our lives are kind of put on hold here. So you can type in the chat if you're feeling the same thing. I mean, I think I know I'm feeling it. One thing you cannot do though, and I'll just be the first to tell you because this is really important based on my years of experience in project management and just in life, is that you can't blame what's going to happen or associate what's going to happen or may not happen in the next few days, weeks with your self-worth. So a lot of times when these kind of things happen, we start beating ourselves up, right? We start self-doubt. We start breaking the confidence that we've worked to achieve. And I may be over dramatizing, but I'm kind of a dramatic person sometimes, but we can't blame ourselves. We have to look at it. Everybody is in the same boat. So we have to figure out what we can do, right? We can't shatter our confidence. Confidence is the gift that we have. We can't start second guessing ourselves, right? So we have to put a positive spin on this thing if we want to get through it. And you know, and so that's what we're here. So don't blame yourself. And sometimes, you know, when we think we're falling apart, we're really falling together. Now, I'm going to show you this video, and it's about 2 minutes motivating. I thought that was good to get us started. So first thing I want to do here is I want to take a look, and we're going to do a little assessment of where we are in terms of motivation. Now, I know I'm talking to a lot of folks who are PMPs. How many of you have your PMP? It doesn't really matter. But you know the next thing that I'm going to talk about, you're familiar with it, and that is Maslow's hierarchy. Now, I thought about that as I was walking my dog one day, because I thought, you know, when we talk about motivation and getting motivated, you know, we're not talking about getting motivated to do a stand-up or to meet with your team or to do something like that. We're talking about motivating people who are at the, we could be at the bottom rungs of Maslow, right? Because Maslow talks about the hierarchy of needs. So some people, if they're losing their jobs, or they may be losing their jobs, or they feel they're losing their jobs, they could be at the bottom rung, right? Food, clothing, shelter, your, or safety with the safety of your job, the reliability of your paycheck. And a lot of us are feeling like that may be going away. I do a lot of work for the cruise lines. Well, not anymore, right? So some of us are kind of in that same boat. And so motivating yourself, it's a different level of motivation now, right? Because we're experiencing some of these things. So the safety needs, that includes order, predictability, and control in your life. And so I think a lot of us don't feel control. I have a mother who's in Las Vegas. She's in an assisted living facility, and we need to move her to Virginia because her husband just passed away during this crisis a couple weeks ago. And we can't get into the facility to move her. So we have to figure out how to do it, how to get her out. So it's just all of these things that are complicated. So safety needs also deal with emotional security. So the whole point of discussing this is give yourself a little break here, right? Recognize where you are in this thing, and that will help us try to figure out how to get out. Now, we also have what I call, and what has been heralded as, I didn't come up with this, but I certainly use it a lot. It's called the learning model, right? The learning model and motivation. So anytime we learn anything or we experience anything new, we start off in this quadrant that we call, you don't know what you don't know. So that's kind of where we were 2 weeks ago, right? We were getting into this thing, and we really didn't know a lot about it. We had heard, we had read, we had seen it on TV before it blew up, right? So we didn't know what we didn't know. So the motivation there is kind of to learn what you need to know. Then you get into this point, and this happens when you learn anything, really, but we get into stage 2, which is, I think, where we are here, is that we really don't know. We know that we don't know, right? So we start to feel overwhelmed because there's a lot about this thing that we don't know. And so I think that's where everybody is these days. The next stage of this thing is, as we start to learn, we actually don't know that we're starting to learn. And I think we might be there in a week or so. So I think we're in between stages 2 and 3 now. And then eventually we'll know that we know, and we'll have more information, we'll be more in control, and hopefully this thing will pass. But knowing where you are in this learning model is important to help yourself get motivated and stay motivated, and to, breathe a little bit and cut yourself some slack. So how can we stay motivated? Right? Stop looking at the cute little dog. How can we stay motivated? Well, we have to stay positive. We know that. And our biggest obstacle sometimes to staying positive is our own self, our own brain. We have to stay positive, which means we have to think positively, duh. So we have a disposition sometimes that we're waiting for the axe to fall. We have to do the next right thing, stay positive, whatever that is, and we're going to help figure that out in the next few slides. But we have to do the next right thing, stay positive. And one book that I have found, and I don't know, you can write in the chat if you've ever read this book, but it's called As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. Now, it's an all-time classic. It was written in 1903. You could read it in 2 hours. It's that simple. It's that small, or short rather. It's written in classic, kind of like British prose, if you will. But it's really a fascinating book. It talks about how you are what you think, basically. How your mind determines how you feel. And that if you have negative thoughts all the time, then you're going to be a negative person. So the book says, you either master your mind to create the life you want, or remain mired in frustration and failure. As it says, there's your choice. I pulled that off the bookshelf and I started reading that, and I said, boy, I wish, because when you get into it, even though it's a short read, it's a great read. And sometimes reading stuff, researching, kind of sparking that creative component is a good thing, and it helps motivate people. So that's a great book. I'll be sharing a few great books with you that I think are great. But that's certainly one of them, and that's an all-time classic. So if you do any research on your brain and dopamine, right? So it's dopamine that causes or increases motivation. And I read this article and I have it here. I'm not going to go to it right now, but it's a great article. And when you get the, you know, if you download the PDF, you'll be able to link to it. It talks about this, how to spike your dopamine to increase motivation. Some of these things you may have heard of. Small accomplishments, baby steps, you know, a checklist, a digital done list. These things are things that help motivate us when we're working at home. And maybe, you know, a lot of times when we're working at home, we feel like we have to overcompensate because we're not in the office. I don't feel that way because I've worked from home. I used to work from home all the time. But I think a lot of folks have you know, texted me or whatever. And I've talked to a lot of folks who working at home, it's just their first experience. And so they really feel, wow, I don't have that, you know, I don't get that interaction. I don't get that satisfaction. I don't have somebody validate what I'm doing. You know, I feel like I'm just thrown out here. So do small accomplishments. You know, a digital done list. I guess everything's digital now. So share results with your team or someone. If you don't have a team right now, if you're in transition or whatever, share it with someone. It's, you know, and the idea is that if you did something that you think is really good and others think is good, they'll tell you that. So that little praise helps sell. That's a little self-serving, but I think it worked. You know, if you set these little deadlines, stay on top of it. There's nothing more motivating than feeling a sense of accomplishment, you know. When I finished this presentation, I felt that way, to be honest. That wasn't a micro deadline, though. Think about how you're going to feel when it's finished, right? Kind of do this visioning. They call this visioning, where you look at where you're going to be tomorrow, where you're going to be in an hour. Think about how great it's going to feel to accomplish a certain thing, and that kind of helps you get there. Sometimes it gets you through the rough patch, you know? One thing that, that I saw or read is check out new productivity tools. There are all kinds of productivity tools. For overwhelming tasks, there's lots of tools out there. Sometimes, you know, utilizing a new tool, for some reason, there's a creative component to that that helps people. So check out that too. Now, here's what I use. All right. Now, this is old fashioned, but it still works for me. I use this gold fiber. I have it. I don't have it right beside me. Where is that? I thought I had it here. Everything I do goes down in here. If I don't write it here, then I won't be able to find it. So everything I do, every thought I have, I write it in this book. And so you can do the same thing digitally. I think it's motivating to me because I feel some sense of control. I can get the things back on track, write it down. I use that section that you see on the left there, the white space. I put notes in there, like if it's an idea, I write a big capital I and I circle it. If it's an action item, I put AI and I circle it. So, you know, if it's a follow-up, I put that there. So these things help me stay on track so I don't feel like I'm all over the place. You know, if you've got dogs or kids or whatever running around, you may feel like, you know, you may feel a little bit all over the place. So whatever works for everybody, but it doesn't have to be digital. Trick your brain. So boost your diet with stuff that helps increase your dopamine, like probiotics, yogurt, sauerkraut. Take a 10-minute nap. So research shows that it's 10 minutes. I've heard half an hour. I heard 45 minutes. But I did kind of a consensus at 10 minutes. I don't know how you do a 10-minute nap, but it says that if you go beyond the 10 minutes, then you run the risk of actually making yourself sluggish. And maybe that's the answer, or maybe that's why on the weekends when I do a nap, I'm sluggish, because I do a lot more than 10 minutes, I'll tell you that. But make a right brain or left brain switch. So this says that if you have tasks that are, you know, technical or analytical, try doing a little creative stuff in there with it. And if you're working from home, you kind of have the luxury that you can do some of that. And we'll get into some of the things you can do in a minute, but so it talks, you know, take time, move between Excel, which is more of an analytic, to a creative brainstorming session. Have you ever brainstormed with yourself? It's a great activity. Get moving at midday. So, you know, during lunch, take a walk, right? Take a walk around the block, whatever, 20-minute walk. This is a good thing to help you just keep your body moving, keep the blood flowing. And then maybe later you can do a high intensity workout. What motivates you? Type it in the chat. So when I ask this, when I'm doing a class, people tell me what motivates them is, in some cases, being rewarded, in some cases, getting a sense of self-worth, in some cases, validation, in some cases, deadlines. Some of us are motivated, we have to have deadlines. Exercises, doing a good job, completing a task, reaching your goal, sense of achievement. These are all great things in terms of motivation, being helpful to others. And so when you think about what motivates you, praise, safety, right? Accomplishment, learning, helping people, recognition, being part of something, security. This is why I joined the board, because I wanted to be part of something that was doing good I wanted to give back. So I joined the board of the South Florida chapter. We do stuff because it makes us feel good. And this is good. Getting stuff done. This helps everybody. Now, I think we all know this, and we probably figured out that we got to limit the news media. I mean, really, you got to turn it off. I have found that every single time, I'm starting to feel good, feel a little bit better, get that news channel on, and boy, it just brings me back down. So we have to stay informed, but we gotta stop the insanity. I think all of the news stations are kind of feeding on this thing, and we have to understand that. So, pick a news station, watch it regularly to get information, or even go online, but don't keep it on. Have a schedule. Yeah, Shelby, that's a good idea. Have a schedule. It's information overload. It doesn't, because the media hypes it up. And we know this. We live in Florida, right, in South Florida. What happens every time we have a hurricane? If you watch the news, you'd think that we were going to fall off into the ocean, right? And that's what the whole world is saying. And we know, look, it's just a little windstorm. Now, this is quite serious, this thing that we're going through now. I'm just saying that sometimes you can get caught up in the hype. And if you're feeling anxious already, that's not a good thing. So we don't want to go into the black hole here. We want to protect our mental well-being and do stuff that will help us. Exercise. Now, be honest. I know everybody I've talked to, oh, you can exercise at home. Yeah, how many of you, be honest, have exercised at home? Really? I have weights. I have the whole thing. I don't have a gym, but I have weights that I remember arguing with my husband when I bought it. When he bought them, I said, what do you need those for? He said, well, if you ever need to exercise. I'm like, really? I go to the gym. I'm not going to exercise here. Well, now I have the weights, but they're still sitting there. I'm going to get that going. So they have so many. I was Googling this. They have so many, millions and millions of online workout sites. Some of them are free. Some of them have free trials. I think it's great. On YouTube, yes, this is great. So feel better. Get a schedule again. If you get up early, if you're an early bird like I am, get up, exercise, and then you can do your deal. You'll feel so much better. Really, try it. So, I mean, it goes without saying, but what about this? Record your ideas. How many of you do that? If you get an idea, if you're walking the dogs or you're doing something at home or you're cooking or whatever, and you get an idea, do you record it? If you don't record it at the moment, I find at least, I forget it. So what I do is, because I always have my cell phone with me, I actually send myself an email with the subject line idea. And then at some point during the week, I do a sort and I go through all of those ideas, right? That helps me stay motivated. I have ideas about business. I have ideas about life. I have ideas about, what I want to do, what I want to accomplish. So I try to keep up with those, because sometimes you get an idea and if you don't capture it and take advantage of it, right? You're gonna lose it. Now you have to go through the emails if you're gonna do that. Right? Some people tell me they record it on their phone. Well, I don't know. By the time I find the record button and all that, I may have lost it. So I try to just keep it simple. Now, I put this, and I was kind of thinking about it. Take advantage of offers, right? This could be motivating to some people, maybe not, but maybe it's a good idea to think about. So I know the government has stuff that they're doing, mortgage companies, credit card. I mean, if you are in a situation, and you could be, where, finances are going to be an issue. Hopefully nobody's in that situation. There may be help, right? Don't despair. Everybody's going to get through this, but there may, call your credit card company, see what they say. Hopefully nobody's in that situation, but if you are. So I've heard on the news that mortgage companies are I don't know, they're doing something where you may not have to pay your mortgage for a month, 2 months, whatever. So again, hopefully nobody's in that situation, but I think there's all kinds of assistance and help and whatever. So, you know, take advantage of that if this is appropriate for you. Create a website. Now I thought about this and I thought people are gonna think I'm crazy. And then I said, why? That's gonna be my new motto from now on. Why not? So what does creating a website do you think? Well, for me, it helps the creative side, you know, the creative process. It's easy. There are so many tools. A lot of them are free. And you say, well, why would I want to create a website? Well, I don't know, maybe your own personal branding, which we're going to get into in the second section. Maybe your own self. You may be, if you're going to be looking for soon, or you trying to change point like that, creating a website's a good skill to have. I'm telling you, I'm a project manager and I'm technology, and we had to do a phone app. We launched a phone app last year, and we also, along with the phone app, we did a website. I didn't do it, but I kind of oversaw it, and my own experience having created a website was very helpful to me. So, you know, it's something you can do that kind of gives you some creative outlet, and you never know. And then the thing is, when you're doing something like that, you think of stuff. Oh, I should do this, or I can do that. So Google 2020's best website builders, and you'll see there's lots of stuff out there. Get organized. This is a good time to do that if you're not already. And I know most of you are already organized, but I don't know. I talked to some people, they said not so much. So organize your workspace, clean a closet, do something action, gives you a sense of control. There's some things that you can control here. Udemy. Oh, somebody mentioned Udemy. That's a great source. They have sales now, yeah. So these are things that help get you motivated. And sometimes it's just getting it started. I know when I have a task to do like that, you know, I can just walk around it, and then all of a sudden I get into it, and then I just spend hours because it's rewarding, it's motivating. I want to finish it. I want to see it done. So sometimes, you know, we can spend, you know, 6 weeks to fret about something, and then it takes us, you know, 10 minutes to get in there and get it going. So do those things now that are going to give you a sense of control, that you think might help you get control. Get involved. Hint, hint, right? So the PMI South Florida chapter that is organized, and Ed is on the call, I see, and he and everybody on the board, we organized this, and great, thank you, Ed. It was a great idea. But being a member of the board there has helped me professionally, and it has also helped me through times like this. So get involved in something. It could be the PMI South Florida chapter. It could be another professional organization. Mentor somebody. Offer yourself as a mentor. Start a group. It doesn't have to be work related. It could be something you're passionate about, right? So think about what you're passionate about and do that. These are all things that help to motivate us and help to get us going. And study groups, yeah, Heather, that's a great idea. Study group. So she just took the ACP course, and she's looking for somebody to study with. This is a great time to do that, as we'll see when we get to the next section. So also, you know, you're allowed to take think time here. You know, you're smart. Use your brain. Take some time to think things through. Avoid reacting. And I know that sometimes when, you know, we're in a situation, again, some people working from home, they don't feel comfortable, so they react. You get to take think time. You get to think it through. So do that for yourself. That can be motivating too, to know that, you know, you have that outlet. Understand changing energy levels. When do you need a bump? So in general, with anything that we do, it's certainly true on a project. It's true in other things in life too. At the beginning, where are we in terms of motivation? Up at the top, right? And then what happens? Over time, we start to get into it, and then the energy drops. So you may realize, you know what? I need an energy bump here, right? I need a boost in energy. So is there anything I can do? What can I do? So just recognize that for yourself, because sometimes recognizing that, you just, get up, you take a walk, if it's something like that, or if you actually need to do something. So recognize changing energy levels and recognize when you need to boost. So how are you feeling emotionally, right? We've learned a lot in the past year about emotional intelligence and how important that is. One of the things that I did, so I gave a webinar on this, not a webinar, but at one of our dinner meetings, I did a 10-minute presentation on this. And it was on emotional intelligence and how important it is. And one of the things that I did as part of that, which I thought was really great, was I actually tracked, how I felt on a daily basis. And I used this, something like this. So each day, I do it midday, lunchtime, afternoon, mid-afternoon, and then evening. I would just write down how I was feeling. And it was really eye-opening to me, because a lot of times I had frustration, anger, and that kind of surprised me. But I really felt that. This was when I was at the office. So now I think it's useful because you can kind of get a check on how you're feeling, and maybe, again, do stuff that will, take a walk or do something that will help you feel better. But this is actually good. I think you'll be surprised at some of the feelings that you have during the day and, just throughout. So, take a check on your emotions and see where you are. Read a book, why not? So I'm a reader. I do a lot of reading. I like to read. I like to have a physical book in my hand. A lot of people read online. There are lots of, I think Kindle, I was looking that up. They have a 2-month unlimited free trial. So you can download all the books you want. Pick a book that's going to motivate you. And I have some coming up that I'm going to share with you. You can even write a book if you feel so inspired, right? How many of us have said, how many people have I talked to said, I'm going to write a book, right? Well, maybe you can get that started now. Maybe you can put a plan together. Why is it that we can develop plans for projects and so on, but we can't, in our own personal life, we can't seem to make that happen? So some people have told me they're already writing the book. So this is good. So here, this is a great book, Be Obsessed or Be Average. And I give a little synopsis, but it's a really motivating book. It's about how to be a rock star. So I look at books and I say, yeah, I take a few things. If I can take a few nuggets from a book, then I'm good, right? So this is one that I enjoyed reading. This one, Switch, How to Change Things When Change is Hard. This is good, and it talks about that the primary obstacle that we have is us. So again, you can get a few nuggets. It talks a lot about the psychology of this thing, but about the change and organizational change and just change in your life when it's hard. Linchpin. This talks about are you indispensable? It talks about how your self-worth, how you stand out. This was written by Seth Godin, which I love him. I love his website. He also wrote The Purple Cow, The Dip, and Tribes. If you have any good books, type them in the chat and I'll shout it out, John C. Maxwell, he wrote, and you probably heard of him, Everyone Communicates, Few Connect. So this book is great. It's got a few great nuggets about communication and how to really connect when you're communicating. So this is helpful not only for, office, but also, with a spouse, with a child, with a loved one, with a parent. And then the last one, this one, Developing the Leader Within You, 2.0. So, and John C. Maxwell talks about leadership styles, and he talks about different principles for motivating and inspiring and influencing others that have any leadership style. So he looks at leadership styles and he kind of differentiates them and talks about how you can use that information to help you deal with people. So that's good. Now, how do we retool? So a lot of us are having to retool now. So, circumstances may be coming down the pike and we're going to need to retool. So we need to look at that. So grab the bathroom. So this, it's kind of odd, right? So Patricia Fripp, she's a Hall of Fame speaker. She's talked at a couple of local things here locally. For for the Florida Speakers Association, but she talks about that opportunity doesn't just knock once, it knocks all the time. We don't always recognize the sound. So like I said before, in terms of looking at these things as opportunities, yes, it's a bad situation that happens, but it could be a great opportunity for people. Grab the bathroom. So I had a friend of mine who, I knew her from church, and I knew her for a long time, and she was getting up there in age, but I was talking to her, and she finally revealed to me that she had 8 kids. So she raised 8 children. And I was floored. I said, you've got to be, what? 8 children? I said, so what did you do? Did you just go get milk every day? I mean, was the laundry machine just running continuously? And she said, Connie, you'll never, she says, anytime the bathroom was free, whether I needed it or not, I grabbed it. And I thought that was funny, but so opportunity, you kind of, sometimes you have to take it when it's there. So, but we may have to retool. So you kind of have to examine your career. I was thinking about this. Write down a chronological list of your career. You probably already thought about some of these, but maybe you haven't. You got to write down a chronological list of your career and include everything. You know, stuff that maybe skills that you have that you can resurface. For me, for example, I started my career as an actuary. I got through almost half of the exams. Now, I didn't become a full-fledged actuary, certified actuary, but how can I reposition those skills, right? Well, actuarial work is all about risk analysis. Can I position that? I also worked as a product manager early in my career. Can I combine the two? So it's kind of like making a list of all of your skills and seeing what stands out. It's all about, and it's also about looking at what you want to do, right? I know we feel the need to just, if we want to retool ourselves, we kind of want to go with the first thing because we want to make sure that we're employed, but this might be a time to think it through. What are you good at, right? What are you passionate about? Photography, cooking, writing, blogging, teaching, ad copy, why not? How many people, you know, can write good ads? There are some of us out there, but we're too tied down with these 9-to-5 jobs. So maybe this is an opportunity to explore some of those skills that we've wanted to pursue or that we actually have. Speaking, research, teaching. How can you utilize those project management skills in other areas? So everybody's kind of thinking about this, but it's a personal assessment that you more or less have to do yourself, right? Nobody can really help you with that, but you got to make a list and start going through it. You also have to figure out what's important to you. If work-life balance is important to you, then you need to make sure that whatever you pursue has a good work-life balance. What hobbies do you have? So make a list. What's important to you? Is it work life? Is it money? Is it working remotely? So some people that I've shared this with say, well, I may not have a choice. Well, you may not, but you may. So you don't know. You have to kind of do it. I don't know if anybody's done this. Has anybody out there started making a list of what they need to do or making a list of skills? Rediscover yourself. So some people have said they found some stuff on YouTube that has been really helpful. That's good. Good to know. There are classes. Some of them are free. Some of them are not. So do a brainstorming session with yourself, right? Get some sticky notes, get a wall, and start putting it up, and and try to come up with a list of your stuff that you can do. You can start an online business. There's all kinds of stuff out there that you can do. Create a personal brand. So a personal brand differentiates you from the competition. Get a personal branding message. So we're going to look at some examples here, but a personal branding message helps you to differentiate yourself from other people, but it also helps motivate you to stick to that brand. So let's look at some examples. I help individuals reassess their life choices to discover their true path to success. I develop sustainable business models and marketing strategies. So let's look at this. I'm going to pull this article up that I found that I thought was really good in terms of personal branding. So 8 personal brand statements, examples to help you craft your own brand. So it talks about personal branding here. And okay, so those were the couple that I gave you, but So this is the one who said, empowering ridiculously good marketing. So that's kind of cool. Ann Handley. So she's a marketing person, and she just came up with a short one-liner elevator pitch. So you can read about that. Joe Pelusi, content marketing evangelist. So I don't even know if I know what that is, but I do know what it is, but it sounds good. So Joe Pelusi there. So this is going to take some introspective, right? You're going to have to think about what you're good at and what you can do and how you can come up with a personal brand statement that is going to, you know, differentiate you. Half geek, half marketing, 100% social nut, right? That sounds cool. I mean, so when you start reading things like that, you start to get ideas. I grow companies. Okay. Translating the geek speak and simplifying the complex. Real life on a budget. Ways to improve your budget overnight. Sophisticated, authentic, timeless. So these are ideas. So you can take a look at these and come up with your own personal branding. Does anybody have a personal brand statement? Sort of, kind of? Not an easy thing to do. We don't do things for ourselves that we would normally do, you know? So the price of bananas, are you worth it? Some of this stuff that we're talking about, it might require a little investment, it might not, but are you worth it, right? You're darn right you are. So when I lived in Los Angeles, gosh, almost 20 years ago, there was a couple that my husband and I used to hang out with. And we were young at the time. We used to go to the beach. That was our weekend thing. We went to Malibu. And we would stop at the grocery store and pick up stuff, pick up croissants and ham and honey mustard. And we'd spend the day at the beach and then we'd barbecue at night. Well, one time we went in there and Carl and Diane, my friends, they got into a little squabble there in the grocery store, Vons, I think. We've all been there. But they were arguing over the price of bananas because apparently the price had skyrocketed, right? And Carl's telling Diane, don't buy the bananas, they're too expensive. And I thought, if anybody ever tells me not to buy bananas, we're gonna have it out, right? So you're worth it. So we have to put some things in perspective here. If it's gonna help you and help you get off on a new career, then it's good. We should try it. Okay, so another good book, What Color is Your Parachute? So this book actually helps us to identify career-changing techniques and things that we can do. I haven't actually looked at it in a while. I looked at it years ago, but it helps you identify like those skill sets that you may not have thought of it. So it kind of takes you through a process that you can identify the skills that you have, and maybe you can come up with how you can position your skills and your career and so on. Yeah, Dulce says, Me Incorporated, treat yourself like your own company. This is a time when maybe you can do that, or you can think about do that. So the link to that article, the link to that article is here, and I will share that in a minute. When we're finished, I will put it in the I'll put it in the chat so everybody has it. And then again, this is going to be made available. So actually, let's see, I could probably do it right now. Let me do it right now. Let me share the article and share the link. Copy. Control V, that way everybody has it. Thank you for that. Thank you, Carmen. So this book is good if you're really serious about trying to reposition your career or trying to retool. This is good. You know, it's a good book in order to do that. Of course, the 21st Century Career, you've probably heard of the Project Economy. PMI has been making all the noise about that. But what it talks about in the Project Economy and just in general is that careers moving forward are going to be different than they were in the past. We're not going to have this single long-lasting career. You're going to basically be moving from project to project, from thing to thing, and your next job is going to be defined by your previous jobs. So we have to have a way to kind of, you know, document what we've done and position it as an experience that is unique, and it's something that is going to be valuable to another company. So when you list your projects or you list what you've done, you have to position it that way. You have to think about it that way. What did I do that might be valuable? When I talked about that phone app, well, that in itself, the phone app, doing a phone app, launching a phone app, right, that had a payment piece to it, that has to be positioned. If I talk about the phone app, I got to talk about the payment piece because that's what is unique about that. So we're experiencing changes in the way that careers are handled these days. And there's another great article here. I'm not going to go to it, but it's in here. Catch the Wave: The 21st Century Career. It's by it's in the Deloitte Review. I don't know if you read those. They have some really good articles in those. But the author talks about surfing, right? He talks about that your career is kind of like surfing. So you go from wave to wave. He talks about skill sets. They become relevant and then they're not. And if you're not looking for the next wave, then you're going to drown. So you had, and he mentioned a few examples. Like, I mean, we can probably use Agile as an example in a way. So Agile, a couple, 3, 4 years ago, nobody knew what was going on, right? So that was a unique skill set. And that was something everybody was in great demand. But now everybody's learning about Agile. So now there are a lot more people who know about Agile. And so the field is bigger now. There are a lot more people. And that happens with a lot of different skills and a lot of different things that come up. So you have to constantly, while you're learning, you have to be looking for the next thing. So you should read this article too. It's a great article. You have to be able to adapt and adjust. I think we've all known that, but we really have to be able to do that. You have to constantly be learning. You should be learning stuff that you're not working on at the moment. It's not about, what you're doing at your job. You got to be thinking about the next job. And so maybe this experience, one of the things, not great, but one of the things about this experience and having this time to yourself in some cases is that you can think through a lot of this stuff and think about, am I learning? Am I doing anything to enhance my skill set? Because we really need to be. So what should you be learning? Well, I did some research and these kind of tend to be the hot topics, right? And it's not just all about technology either, but every project, everything we do has a technology component. Big data, Hadoop, which is a tool, right? That's a big thing. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Artificial intelligence, another one. We've heard this. Do you really know what it's about? We did a dinner meeting on this like a couple of years ago now. We ought to do that one again because that was really informative. But how is this interweaving in our lives and what do we expect in the future? Are you conversant in that? Would you be able to sit in front of a potential employer and talk about artificial intelligence? Because a lot of companies aren't doing it yet, but they might be thinking about it. Cybersecurity, oh boy, that's a hot topic now, right? So what do you know about it? So maybe start off with, how do I become conversant about this? And then it may spark an interest. There are also, now this requires, an investment, but some of the universities have certificates in this, and they have like a 3 or 4 day course and you get a certificate. They have them in artificial intelligence and cybersecurity and blockchain and, data analytics. That's a big, so it says there on the right, I thought it was an interesting quote by John Bershon, who wrote that other article. It says, for anybody who wants a shot at a well-compensated position, and it might be just a compensated position, comfort with data is essential. How comfortable are you with data? It's easy to say you are, but what do you have behind that? If somebody asked you about that, what would you say? So have you done anything with, say, Power BI, right? That's a tool. You can download that. I think they have a free trial on that. They do. It's a 60-day free trial. You can learn about that. It's very easy. But, going through and trying to create a report with something in Power BI will teach you Power BI and how to analyze data. They have lots of self-learning tools on Microsoft's site about Power BI. Digital marketing, another thing. What is that about? We talk about that. Yeah, okay, that's when I get those pop-ups and so on. But what really is behind that? There's a whole thing behind that. It's fascinating. So that's something that would be interesting to know about and learn. Leadership, always a hot topic, especially today, right? So leadership skills, learning about leadership, servant leadership, emotional intelligence, business value, another big thing. They always talk about business value, product marketing. Agile. So all of these things are important to learn, and they're topics that you could address. Dulce Mendoza says that there's an app for the library where you can borrow books electronically for free, just with your library card. It's called Overdrive. So that's a good tip. Nice, yeah. So if you have any recommendations on stuff that might be useful to learn, I know that these are what you know, a lot of the big guys are looking for, right? You probably heard them before. Now, whether you know it or not, if you're a member of PMI, you have access to all of the standards for free: the foundational standards, the practice standards, the practice guide, the PMI lexicon of project management terms. I don't know if you were aware of that. You can download all of these books that you see in front of you for free. A PDF version, you use your PMI.org password to open them, but all of these are free. So free for you to download and look, so you can start getting into that. Business Analysis, great book. So maybe, depending upon the industry you're in, maybe you can make a list of the stuff that that would be useful for you to learn. Somebody's reading Leading the Workforce of the Future. You also have access to projectmanagement.com, right? So here on PMI's website, in case you're curious as to where it is, on the main page, there's PMBOK guides and standards. That's where you can download all that stuff. There's also learning and events. There's a bunch of stuff. Thought leadership series, tools and templates. They're changing their site all the time. You ought to take a look. Training and development. So there's some stuff there. Academic programs. I mean, there's lots of stuff that you can utilize on the PMI website that that is very helpful. They have lots of information, publications, and so on. So this is a good thing. There's also projectmanagement.com. How many are using that? There's lots of stuff there too. As a matter of fact, I went to it, right? Projectmanagement.com, and look what I found. Managing the next step in your career? Check out PMI's Career Center. I forgot about PMI's Career Center. I forgot all about it. So you can check that out, right? So there are also webinars for PDU credits. There's lots of stuff just for the taking if you're just, you know, cognizant and you go to it. And, you know, sign up. So that's, now projectmanagement.com, that's also free with your paid membership to PMI.org. Okay, Career Center, lots of good stuff. This is on projectmanagement.com. So they also have, you know, webinars, templates, just like, you know, someone said. All right. Now, get your certifications in order. There are lots. And when I thought about this, I said, well, I'm not necessarily going to push one or the other. I mean, I can give you my recommendations if you're interested. But there are certainly lots of certifications. There are the PMI certifications, and this is not all of them. This is probably the most popular ones. The PMP, the PGMP, PMI, ACP, and the PBA, which is the Business Associate, Business Analyst. I probably should have listed the other two, which are risk and scheduling, and actually portfolio as well. They're all on PMI.org, but you know, the PMP is, of course, the one that we're all familiar with and that everyone has, and certainly is the top one. Now, for Scrum or for Agile, there's lots of different certifications. That should be CSM, not CAM, my apologies. But for Scrum Alliance, there are different entities that offer Agile certifications. So the Scrum Alliance offers certifications. Scrum.org has a professional Scrum Master, and you can check those out on scrum.org. They're different entities, but they offer kind of the same thing in terms of certifications for CSM, CSPO. SAFE, different levels. Those are hot certifications. So I think I read an article that said SAFe is a scaling mechanism or a scaling methodology, if you will, for Agile. And I think 30% of the people are using that. So that's something, if you walk into an employer, and you know, some of these, even if you don't want to get a certification, just read up on it. There's lots of information. Just be conversant in it. I mean, I think that's important, to be conversant about some of these. Disciplined Agile, that's a new one. PMI bought Disciplined Agile. I had a class on that, and I got the certification. But it's basically, it's a structured way to tailor Agile tools and principles so that you can customize it to your own. It's like a hybrid. It's a methodology to create a hybrid environment, and it's based on the size of the project and some other factors. It's kind of cool, but it's a new thing. So, you know, we'll see if that's going to take off. We have Lean Six Sigma. Six Sigma Yellow and Green Belt, those are always popular. Lean Kanban, that's another great one. And the chapter has courses on that all the time. Microsoft certification, security certification. I mean, there are a bunch, there's tons. And there's each one of the top 10 highest paying certifications. You know, so you can check that out and just, you know, make sure that your own certifications are in order. Yeah, cloud platforms, that's another one, right? So Heather wants to know what product owner course is the best. So maybe some others can chime in here. So we have the Scrum Alliance, it has the CSPO, and then we have the scrum.org, which has a product owner course also. So I'm not familiar with the scrum.org, I'm familiar with the Scrum Alliance, but does anybody have any insight on that one? On which product owner course is the best? So somebody says SAFe, and then product owner, PM is for product manager, product owner, and then PM. Yeah, okay, so that has a product owner component to it. So, so SAFe has several different certifications. It has a Scrum Master and a product owner. So I think he's saying that the product owner component of the SAFe is good, because not only would you learn then about SAFe, but then the product owner role there. But you can also, you know, just do some research on product owner in general, and see what, you know, learn about it, and then take the SAFe product owner. So somebody has the PSM from scrum.org. Yeah, so yeah, check those out, check those out. So, all right, any other questions? I'm just looking here. Now, also, if you're new to Agile and Scrum, here's a comparison that I thought was really good. It was done by Vitality Chicago, which I really like this company. I know the owner, Anthony Marcino. He wrote the Emotional Intelligence book years ago. I don't know if you remember that, but great guy. Anyway, he did sort of like a comparison of these, you know, the CSM, the PSM, these are all Scrum Master, and then the ACP, the Agile Certified Practitioner, which requires a little more experience. Well, it requires experience, and there's a test involved. There's a test involved with the other ones, I think, but this one is probably a little more challenging, a little more rigorous. But nonetheless, so you can check out his site. He has some information on these certifications. You can just Google Vitality Chicago, and he's kind of neutral. He doesn't, you know, he's not for scrum.org or for Scrum Alliance, or he's kind of an unbiased opinion here. So you can check that out if you're looking for which ones to yeah. So, oh, thank you, Regina. Yeah, SAFe product owner. All right. Now, now's a good time, and I know you've heard it and you probably thought of it on your own, but we got to get that LinkedIn profile updated. Hello, there's tons of information on the internet about how to do that if you're kind of overwhelmed about it. But you need to start getting active in LinkedIn. I was talking to somebody the other day who said, now this was before the crisis, so it wasn't the other day, it was more like a month ago. But she said that she actually got a job opportunity because of her interaction on LinkedIn. So the guy who reached out to her said, you know, I've seen your posts and I've seen that you're very active on LinkedIn. And I wasn't sure whether I wanted to approach you, but I did. And she actually got her, a job placement just from her interacting on LinkedIn. And I said, wow, so some people are looking at that, right? So it's not only enough to have your profile there and so on, but become active. Not only active in LinkedIn, but other social media outlets as well. Write articles on LinkedIn. That's a good idea. Share your knowledge. So that's important. Other social media outlets, but I think LinkedIn is probably the one that, start with that one and do that. Now, when you are prioritizing stuff for yourself and you're doing this kind of brainstorming with yourself and writing out your credentials and so on, prioritize what you're doing, what you're working on. This is helpful on projects, but it's also helpful just in general. You may have seen this before, you may not have, but there's this important/urgent grid here. So important are activities that help you achieve your goals, right? Those are the important ones. The idea is to be proactive about those. We want to spend more time in quadrant 2 with things that are not urgent but important. Prioritize the things that you're working on so that you are working on things that are going to get you and help you in your career versus all this other stuff that may or may not be important at the moment for you. I think sometimes you just have to draw the line in the sand. I was even talking to my mother, who I told you who is, I call her every day now. She's in Las Vegas in an assisted living facility, but her mind is perfect. She can't move around as well. But I told her some stuff I was working on. She said, why are you working on that? She said, why are you doing that? So sometimes you got to look at what you're doing and prioritize it so that it makes sense in terms of, is it something that I should be working on right now? But you can use these tools. You can do something like this to figure out whether it's important or urgent. Now, we want to do this assessment in all areas of our life, not just, career, but also finances, kids, future. And when we do that, we can do a risk assessment. I find that if I'm troubled by something, if I'm working on a project and things aren't going the way I should, I just do a risk assessment. You can just do a risk assessment for your life, right? Write down what might happen and what you can do about it. If you're so worried about what might happen in the future, there's a lot of uncertainty. That's what risk is uncertainty. And right now we're in an uncertain situation. So write out what you're feeling and think about, what can I do about it? Get ideas from family members if you want. But, risk analysis is a tool that we use for projects. We use for lots of different things. And we can certainly use it here, for our lives, right? So I think this is a great idea. Just do a risk analysis, get a grid going. It helps you, and then write a book about it, right? Why not? You can also do a SWOT analysis. So a SWOT analysis, let's not underestimate this in terms of being something that can help us identify, retool, right? What are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? Let's be honest about what we're good at and what we're not good at. Now, the way that you do a SWOT analysis, it's not always done this way, but really, when you do a SWOT analysis, the best thing to do is write out all the strengths, write out all the weaknesses, and then from the strengths come opportunities, right? From strengths come opportunities. If you're good at building websites, well, then that's an opportunity. Maybe you can start a business doing that. If you're good at some other thing, maybe there's an opportunity you can do something with that. So if you write out all your strengths and then parlay that to opportunities, that's kind of a great way to do a SWOT analysis. The same way, you got to look at weaknesses, where you're weak. And those can be threats, right? They can be threats, which you can turn around. You can reposition those. So if you think, I'm really not good at social media, I don't use it. Well, that's that's a threat, right? It's a weakness, it's a threat, but maybe we can do something about that now. Because, this is the time to kind of get that together. So you can use a SWOT analysis to help you evaluate yourself. Find a role model. How many of you have ever done that? Pick a role model. This is suggested that people do. Pick a role model, follow that person. See what they do. What are other people doing, right? Is there anything you can glean from that? Sometimes you can get a mentor, right? You can be a mentor, but you can also get a mentor. So it kind of helps you, put things in perspective. So a lot of people do this. They like to find somebody that can serve as a role model and then follow that person. Haha, Rick. So, I mean, this is a good thing to do, right? And you'd be surprised what you can glean from that. So see what others are doing, talk to people, network virtually, get involved with the chapter events, other professional organizations. Like I said, get active on LinkedIn, other social media, professional organizations. There's just a ton of information, ton of stuff. People have mentioned here YouTube, right? So, there's just so much. I'm amazed. And then I think, well, why am I not putting anything on YouTube, right? There's an opportunity. That's an idea. Hello. So I've got stuff I can share on YouTube and make the world a better place. So we can all get involved in that. So it's something that you just have to, it's a hurdle you have to overcome, and then you just do it, right? Just get it done. Get her done, as they say. So this one, research businesses. So I was thinking about this. As with anything else, sometimes in situations like the one we're going through, while some organizations do poorly, others do really well, right? So like the cruise lines, they're all getting killed. But what's going on with Amazon, right? What's going on with some of these other big companies? They're actually doing well. So is there anything you can glean from that? Can you get involved in that somehow, or use that as an idea of something that you can do? Don't ever think that, oh, online cruises, that's cool. Don't ever think that, that you can't get involved in something just because everybody else has done it, or it's been done a gazillion times. That's not the way to think about this. So, but again, there's that brainstorming, sitting down and just thinking about it, or doing research, going online, looking to see what other people are doing. This means a lot too, and it can mean a lot to you in terms of developing your own style or business or whatever. Coordinate with family members. Why not, right? Collaborate with family member if appropriate. And you know what I mean by that. I mean, sometimes, some people can't work with their family members, but sometimes, you get 3 heads together and you can think of something, right, that we can do together. I know my sisters and I were already thinking about stuff we can do. So this is something, reach out to people that you trust, people that people that are doing stuff, maybe different stuff than what you're doing. My sister, she lives in Newport News, Virginia, Poquoson, Virginia, actually, and she is an expert at selling stuff on Facebook. I didn't even know about this, right? She sells everything on Facebook. She says, Connie, why aren't you listing your stuff on Facebook? My classes, my this, my that. And I'm like, I don't know, I should be doing that. So you never know what can spark an idea, or what ideas you can get from people. Yes, we can make this presentation available. I'm gonna create a PDF and share it with everybody. I love this. Now, if you know me, you know that every single time I give a presentation, I put this up. So now I'm gonna ask the group, what does this stand for? So Jean-Luc, is Jean-Luc on? If he's on, he's not allowed, because he was there, he's not allowed to say, but does anybody know what this means? I love this. This was from a Leadership Institute meeting from PMI, probably about 5 years ago now. But we had Peter Sellers, who gave us just a mind-blowing presentation. I wish I had recorded it, just for my own benefit. But he talked about doing stuff, right, and getting ahead. And what he talked about was this. He said, whoever tries the most stuff wins. So he talked about, and I kind of compare that to Agile's failing fast. So it's like, try it, whatever. If it's something you wanted to do, try it. You never know. Whoever tries the most stuff wins. It might not work. So what? Try the next thing. On to the next, right? like I said, whatever you're working on, you got to be thinking about the next thing. You got to be planning for the next thing. So Peter Sellers talked about that at a keynote speech. If you can get your hands on any books he's written, it's great. He's really awesome. You know, whoever tries the most stuff wins. So he was hysterical, by the way, when he did that. So what do you think? What are some of the lemonades out of this situation? Type it in the chat box. What are some of the things that we can take away from this experience that we have? Number one, you can reinvent yourself, right? If you want. You can, you know, we're learning how to work better virtually. We're learning how to collaborate virtually and have that mean something. Because I think before, although some of us probably did better at work virtually than others, but now we're forced to do it. Now we're figuring it out, and I think it's great. Regroup, reinvent, opportunity to do what you're good at. I think this, you know, it's going to make the world a better place. I think it's going to be something that, you know, we're going to look back and say, we're going to have the courage to try new things. We're going to keep learning. We're not going to be afraid to do stuff, you know? We got to stop worrying about what people think, right? Just do it and go with it, you know? And do it and post it and get out there. Maybe you didn't do that, but you're going to have the courage. So we learn to adapt. We learn to reach our goals. So any questions here, because this is kind of the end of what I had prepared to talk about. But really, I just want to give everybody that, you know, that confidence factor that, you know, you can do this. We can come out of this. We can just hang on and just learn from each other and reach out. This is probably the best thing I've done all day because, you know, when you get clamped up in your own shell, even though I did a remote class today, it's still good to talk to other people and collaborate. So does anyone have any questions? Take a chance. And you know, if you develop and create a group of people that you can reach out to and run stuff by, then that's great. When we learn stuff, we can teach others, and when we teach others, we learn more. They say if you want to really learn something, teach it. Because then you force yourself, right? There is a light at the end of the tunnel, right? We can start a business. I'm just looking at some of the comments. What about questions? Any questions? Wash your hands, keep going. There is light at the end of the tunnel. We are going to get through this. We get, you know, lots of tips, lots of stuff. I'll give it to Rocky, who'll post it, or somebody will post it on the website. And then you can have access to all the links and all the stuff. So I hope you enjoyed it. It's been my pleasure. I'll stay on for a little bit if anybody has any questions. And the next one will be next Tuesday. I don't know what the topic is, but is Ed still on? Does he have any information there? On the next one? So just keep checking the website. Hold on, Rick, let me find you. Carmen, thank you so much. I see you. You okay? Smile. The beautiful one. All right, where are you, Rick? There you
are. Hey, thank you, Connie. What an amazing job. Great job. I'm applauding. Awesome. So I do want to remind everyone that we're having something really special. Not that this was amazing, but we're also going to be doing a conference next Friday. So it's from 9 to 12. So we have a keynote speaker, Jay Smith, the CIO of TracFone, is going to be speaking at an online conference giving back to the community. So this is pretty exciting. He starts up, and then we'll have people, process, and tools. So it's going to be 2 sessions of that. It's going to be very engaging, and we're looking for having massive interaction. I know we think we're limited by these tools that we use, but we want to prove that we can actually have a very interactive session online. So I'm excited to start that venture and then keep moving the baton higher, right? So we're trying to, every week, we're trying to top each other. And this was a great event. We had over 120 30 people online. Great job, Connie. But also please register early because those seats are going to go very, very quickly, and it's going to be national. This is online, so we're going to be able to promote this, you know, throughout the US. So please attend.
Awesome. Thank you, Rick.
You.
Yep. If you want to be unmuted, if you've got something to say, let me know. That's awesome. Hi, Sandra. I see you've been sitting there. Becky, awesome. Yeah, so I hope you took something from this. It was my pleasure to provide all this information. So I'll get this presentation in a PDF format, and then we'll get it posted so that people can have it. If you want to send me an email, I'll put my email here, and I will send it right away if you don't want to wait. And then you can also always connect with me on LinkedIn as well, you know. When I hit enter, it doesn't. Yeah. This Ed Pascal's not in this meeting. Yeah, connie.maldonado@softkeyinc.com. Yep. All right. So the code to register for PMI, that should be forthcoming. I don't have it at the moment, but that should be something that we can get to you quickly. All right, there's my email. So if you want to send me your email, if you send me an email, I will send you the presentation. Connect with me on LinkedIn, and let's do this thing. So we did exceed the 100 mark, thank God. That worked because Zoom has been having problems. So awesome. Glad you enjoyed it. Thank you, Carmen. You did a great job. Give the baby a kiss. Yeah. She has a beautiful little puppy. Oh my gosh. He's so adorable. It's a she? It's a she, yeah. She's so adorable.
Right now, she was being a bad girl.
I love dogs, if you couldn't tell. All right. I'm not sure, Brigitte, if PMI is going to submit the PDU or if they're going to send you the info. They usually submit it. I think that's the way it works. And I apologize, I wasn't on our, we have a weekly stand-up call, but I wasn't able to attend this morning. So be looking out for that, or send me an email and ask me, and then I'll find out and send you an email, yeah? So, yeah, I miss you too, Mary. We used to see each other all the time. Oh, shoot, here's the link. I don't know if you saw it because, oh, here's the link. Sorry for that article before. I think I sent that to Ed. I didn't realize. All right. Awesome. Okay. Thank you. I'm gonna end the meeting in just a few minutes. I'll stay on just for a few more minutes, and then we'll end it. Let me stop the